Hey, what's up guys, it's Angela from CKC4. Come along with me as I install these gorgeous electrical sconces in my living room. Of course, you guys know I had to do something to modify it, and what's that magical color? You've guessed it, gold. So here I am using Rub and Buff to apply the gold color. I've done some trial and error with different gold finishes, and so far this has yielded the best results. Plus, it was the easiest and quickest technique. Now I won't go into details about this technique, but in short, simply apply the paint onto your item and then rub it in with your fingers. Now I've seen people do this with their bare hands, but plastic gloves work just fine for me. I allow this to dry at least 24 hours before handling. And now for the electrical. But first, here's a disclaimer. Performing electrical work can be dangerous and could also be damaging to your home. Before you start, I recommend you consult an electrician. This is not a tutorial or a how-to video, but more of a video on how I did it. I'm a homeowner and I choose to perform these electrical tasks on my own with full knowledge that it could be dangerous to myself as well as damaging to my property. If you perform electrical tasks, please understand the risk involved, but most importantly, always put safety first. This light switch is what will be used to control the sconces. It's located on the other side of the room and currently controls the power outlet on the left side. Luckily, the right outlet wiring also runs down to this left outlet, and although it's not controlled by the switch, it sure will make my job a lot easier just by being down there. Now all I have left to do is to run wiring from where the sconces will be installed down to the outlets underneath them. I will also connect the right outlet so that it too will be controlled by the light switch. Here are a few of my supplies, but please see the full list in the description. Now this is the casing that my wires will sit in and the sconce will sit on top of it. So that lip there is what sits directly on top of the drywall, while the wings that you see lifted there, those keep this casing in place. And the little holes here basically is where you feed your wires through. Now I bought this because I wasn't sure if I would need to install this on the stud, but it turned out that the other one would work fine, so I really don't need it now. I guess I could just use it later for maybe some recessed lighting, but it is going to come in handy for me to make my circle on my wall so that I can cut my hole on the drywall. So what you see here is the brace that supports the sconce, and it attaches to the blue electrical casing. It has nail holes that I will mark on the wall, and you'll see those later. I'm using this casing to draw a circle so that I can cut out a hole for my casing to sit in. And those holes there are the holes that I drew from the sconces. I'm going to go ahead and draw lines on the outside of this circle because it's going to be cut out, and I still need a reference mark to install my sconces. Although I started cutting first, I decided to score first around the trace line. Now scoring first allows you to have a neat cut just in case you need to reuse the piece of drywall. Then I finished cutting away with my drywall saw. I make sure the power is off, but I also use a tester to make sure there's no electricity running through the wires. Then I mark and score the piece of drywall that I will be cutting out. Now it's important that I make this as neat as possible because this will be put back in place once I run the wiring. The wiring here will be coming directly from the sconces above. Because the sconce will be installed on the opposite side of the stud, I am going to have to drill a hole and run the wiring through the stud to reach the outlet. So here's the wiring that I will be using. It is a 12 gauge 2-strand wire with copper. I have to open this yellow casing to expose the wiring. I then cut it to size and feed it from the sconces hole to the bottom opening. Then I drill a hole in the stud, then feed the wiring through, and then through the electrical box. As you can see here, I've fed the cable from above through this electrical box and am now connecting it to the outlet. White goes with white, black goes with black, and copper goes with copper. It's pretty straightforward here. You have to remove the casing that's around the wire to make sure that the metal touches the metal. But pretty straightforward. Again, if you're uncomfortable with this, please consult an electrician. Remember I told you that I wanted this to work with the switch. So you have your ground. Your ground will basically connect to the ground, okay? That's not going to change. But your white cable, which is right here, your white cable, is going to connect to the white, which isn't going to change either. So your white will also connect to the white. But the black itself needs to connect to, if you notice here, there's a red cable right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. But the red cable is basically this is how you know that you're dealing with a switch or some sort of terminator. And I'm sorry if the words are wrong, but it's actually a switch that's going to control this. And so instead of connecting your black to the actual outlet, you connect the outlet and everything else, all the live feeds, to the red cable. And then that way, when the switch goes off, it terminates the power, the feed, electricity, to all of the cables that's connected to this red. Okay? And so that's what I did. I ran it from the other end down to this one, is that all of these outlets are now controlled on the switch. So, you see a green here because I need to swap this out with black. This should actually be black coming from, well, actually it should be red, but I don't have any more red, so I use green. Any place I use electrical caps, I like to wrap those with electrical tapes to make sure it's secure. And that's it for part 1, guys, but it ain't over yet. Click the video here to check out part 2. You don't want to miss the reveal.